wanted to take up, I don't know how much this topic is discussed. It's in one of the, I always like to try and take something from the parsha, if possible, and I want to show the relevance of the idea. As I said, Torah, Judaism, eternal. I call it Judaism eternal. And I try to demonstrate the relevance. Everything in the, nothing becomes obsolete in the Torah. Nothing becomes obsolete. Okay? But you have to understand, you have to see how what the central idea is, and to show how it's connected to our lives. Now, in the summertime, we basically read Bamidbar. There's a lot of interesting episodes that take place in Bamidbar. On a certain level, it is a very depressing kind of a book, on a certain level, because very bad things happen. You know, big tragedies occur in Bamidbar, one after the other. Revolts, Korach revolts against Moshe Rabbeinu. So how could that, it's like totally unexpected out of nowhere. And that's his own cousin. His own cousin rebels against, tries to overthrow his authority. Okay, he has to deal with that. You see the godless. You see the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu. And you see the greatness of a Jewish leader. Even though Moshe Rabbeinu is the ultimate Rahman, in terms of Rahmanis and compassion, at the same time, he can take very strong, very harsh action against the Korach, for example. He told them to come tomorrow with the Machta and to bring the Ketores offering, and then he prays to Hashem that Hashem should not accept. Don't accept. Essentially that he should be destroyed. See, Moshe Rabbeinu, and the same thing with the Dasan and Abiram, that if Kamos Kala, if they die a natural death, then God didn't send me. But if the earth opens up and swallows them, it's clearly a miracle that could not be accounted for, except for the Yad Hashem. So Moshe Rabbeinu, I want you to understand this. We don't have this phenomenon like the guy, he's so wonderful, he's so kind, he's so compassionate, he couldn't hurt a fly. That's not a great person. It's not a great person. At the same time, we don't have someone that's always a killing and a warrior and just rules by might. I mean, David HaMelech is the ultimate warrior. You can't get any better than that. And he's the same one who wrote the Tehillim. The Tehillim, the most profound, we say the Tehillim in our tefillos. You see? So we aim at a different kind of a perfection, which the world doesn't know about. The world does not know about this. And that, you see even today in the politics, Lahabda, whatever it is, you see in the politics, this leader, Davish, he's very soft. This guy is too right-wing, he's too... Now, a perfected individual is someone who operates in terms of his chachma. Chachma. It's chachmas Hashem. His understanding. And the truth is that the appropriate derech, in other words, you see this even in the case of Yaakov Avinu, when he prepared to meet Esau with three things. So you don't see the three things. He prepared with diplomacy, okay, which means basically a payoff. That's diplomacy, fine, right? He prepared with, if he has to go to, he divided the camps with the military if he has to go. And then he was mispalel. Then he was mispalel to Hashem. But the preferred method would be diplomacy. The Rambam says that before any war that the Jews would go out to, they fought they fought Milchemes Mitzvah, they fought Milchemes Rishus. Even in the war against Amalek, where it's a chiyuv to wipe them out, first they're koreh l'shalom. First they call upon them to accept the terms of peace. Accept the terms of peace. And if they do so, there'll be no need to go to war. Or, if you want to, run away, we won't bother you. In fact, when the Ma'arachos, when the divisions went out to fight, they always left one area clear. If a guy wants to escape, if a guy on the other side, obviously, not on our side didn't have the option to run away from the battlefield. No, because they had permission, they had officers that were stationed in case any of our guys tried to run away from the battlefield, they had permission to kill them. Because Techilas Nisa Nefila. Of course, panic. The worst thing that can happen to an army on the battlefield is panic. And panic is contagious. If one person panics, so then it spreads. You know, you see that. You see that even today. I mean, in a crowded place. What? Yeah, Meron, that's true. Terrible tragedy. Now there's going to be an investigation. Terrible tragedy. And that, very often, that's what happens. People get stampeded, they go, and then it becomes like a panic. And everybody starts to go in all directions. Okay? That's why it's very important. Agavarcha, it's very important. It's a hard lesson to learn. But no matter, to try and retain your composure. Because sometimes things get out of hand, and people, when you lose your composure, then you make mistakes.
But the Israeli army has a way of not being involved in a battle if you're afraid to go to battle.
Oh yeah. That's true. That's a good point. That supports this idea that one of the categories of people that were able to return didn't have to fight. You had, people that were Makadesh a woman, but they didn't complete the marriage, and then with a house they didn't complete, or a vineyard.
And a vineyard.
But someone who's Yarei V'Rachaleva, if he's a Yarei, you're afraid. I mean, there's a machlokus whether he's afraid because he's a coward or whether it's because of Averos that he did. But let's take the plain shot. The plain shot is, and that's what the pasuk says, V'lo yerach levav he shouldn't weaken the hearts of his brothers. It's very, very interesting. So in the Torah army, not today's, I don't know about today's army, what the deal is, but in the Torah army, if someone did not want to fight because he was afraid, then he could just simply say, I'm a coward. I'm a coward. The thing is like this though. One time, years ago, I asked the question of this Rav was a Talmud Chacham, big Talmud Chacham. I said, yes, so if that's the case, any guy that doesn't want to fight is just going to say he's a coward. He gets out of it. I mean, what kind of system is that? Because maybe there are genuine, but there'll be a lot of phonies. A lot of guys don't want to go in the army when there's a war. So all you have to do is say, well, I'm sorry, today in America you could say you're a conscientious objector. And there you could say, you can't have that in Israel. Conscientious objector. What's the pshat conscientious objector? Well, because my religious principles are against the war. I'm a pacifist. Yeah, but the Torah is not a pacifist. so if you're in the Torah army, you can't claim conscientious objection, because you're not supposed to have religious beliefs that are outside of the Torah. These are your religious beliefs. Okay, but what? I'm sorry. What if a guy said, "I'm a coward"? So how is that? They're giving everybody a free pass. No, he said like this though. He says you got to do that in front of all the armies are gathered. They're ready for you. You're going to come forward, so you're going to be totally embarrassed. Who's not going to? You're going to be embarrassed to say that you're a coward. So therefore, the Torah guarantees that the only person who will actually say so is someone who really is a coward. He has no choice. See, a real coward has no choice. He can't go. He's got to say I'm a coward. But someone who's not a coward, he just wants to get out of the war. He's going to brand himself as a coward in front of all of the buddies, and everybody will know he's a coward. And no one wants to have that hanging over him for the rest of his life, that this guy's a coward, he refused to fight. That's going to chase you for the rest of your life. Unless, if you're a real coward, you have no choice. You see what I'm saying? That's how he answered it.
I don't think they use those three excuses nowadays in Israel.
No.
Because I know the last war we had, there was 3 soldiers that had gotten married, that were in the army. They got married, and they were only married a week, and 2 of them were only married a few days, and they got killed.
Yeah, the Israeli army today is it's like anything else. It's not a Torah state. Okay, we try as much as possible that there should be a positive Torah influence. Okay, and sometimes those who represent Torah, or supposedly represent Torah, don't do such a good job in terms of trying to influence the people towards becoming religious. I mean, sometimes the religious parties, call it the Haredi, whatever, behave in a manner which is not really good, which doesn't give it a positive impression. All right, I want to get to the topic for today. This was a little hakdama, a little introduction. Okay. It's interesting. The Gemara says, I forget who was it, Rav, who he'd begin the shir with milsa b'bedichusa, with a little humorous matter. In other words, to get the attention of the people, he'd start off with a little something interesting, a little piece of news, something funny, whatever. And then we do the shir. So anyways, what I wanted to take up is the matter of the sota. Sota, you all know what the sota is, right? I don't know if there's a good translation for the word, but it's a famous topic that people, you know, talk about or written about. It has to do with the woman who has strayed, let's call it that, okay? And you have the matter of the Mehamarim, okay, the bitter waters and suspicious woman. That's a good thing. Okay, thanks very much. The suspicious woman. So I wanted to take that up to review that subject, and I have certain ideas I wanted to share, certain new ideas that I guess I've come up with recently. What is the facts? What is the context? Under what circumstances does a woman become a suspicious woman? And what is this idea of drinking and the waters and so on and so forth? Okay, it's shrouded in mystery. We don't have that today. I mean, there are a number of things, institutions in Judaism, I wouldn't say they're obsolete. They're no longer being practiced today. Bear in mind, we don't have karbanos. You read the karbanos in the siddur every morning, right? But when was the last time anybody here brought a karban? A real one? I don't think so. I don't think so. If you have any obligatory, so you make a note to yourself. When Mashiach comes, you'll have, you'll open up your notebook and you'll say, I owe chatas, I did this, and so on and so forth. Because it will become relevant again. There's nothing in the Torah that becomes obsolete, you know? It's like what Einstein, the transformation of energy. It just becomes transformed. So karbanos it doesn't become obsolete, it becomes transformed into tefillah, right? That's what we, unashama parim sfasenu. And we'll pay the parim, the oxen that we have to bring. We'll bring that through our lips. We'll utter the prayers, you see, by learning about the karbanos every day. So it's like you're bringing a karban, because you're absorbed in the concepts of karban. Really, again, like anything else in Judaism, it's the concepts, it's the ideas that transform a person. You see? So in the times of when Mashiach comes, everything will be restored. You'll bring the karban Pesach, you'll bring the various karbanos, and not just that, but other institutions. Okay, so you won't have the government to kvetch about. You won't have the Knesset to kvetch about, but you'll have a king. You'll have a king. So, hopefully, will be Malach HaMashiach. Will be the righteous king. We had kings in Israel before, all right, but it didn't work out that well. I mean, many of the kings were Rishayim, and if you take all that power and you put it in the hands of a Russia, you got big problems. So the kingship now it's on. It's not applicable now, but in the days of the Mashiach. Hopefully the solution is a righteous king. In other words, you got to combine those two things, a genuine tzaddik, a genuine righteousness, with power, with political power. Then you'll have the perfection of the world. I don't think it can come about through democracy. The democracy, it can't. I mean, democracy is the worst system of government.
Except for all.
Exactly, except for all the others. Except for all the others. That was Churchill, I believe. Unless he got it from somebody else, but I associate that to Churchill. So, since we can't have perfect, all right, so it's better not to have somebody ruling over us, every opinion, Anyways, what's the circumstances behind the story of the Sota? That's what I'm taking up today. Now, you know that Judaism is very makbid, okay, about the Kedusha, Klal Yisrael, Kedusha. And one of the areas in which the holiness of the Jewish people is in the institution of marriage. I mean, marriage is very because the arena of sexuality, of sensuality, okay, that's a very significant factor. That differentiates, that's one of the areas that differentiates us from the animals. From the animals, the Rambam wrote, Hilchos Isurei Bia, the laws of forbidden sexual relationships. In the same heading, in the same sefer, he broke up his Mishnah Torah into books, 14 books, 14 svarim. In the same sefer, with Hilchos Machalos Asuros, forbidden foods. Forbidden foods, forbidden sexual relations. And he called it the book of Kedusha. Kedusha. Because it's through abstention or control. The Torah is not like Christian. The Torah is not ascetic. The Rambam has a whole thing against asceticism. You're not supposed to be masagif. You're not supposed to torture yourself with extreme deprivations and extreme fasting and denying yourself every pleasure in this world. Not supposed to do that. He says that's the derech, the Rambam says, of the Ovdei Avodah Zarah, of the idol worshippers. But so what? What's the other side? So what? We're supposed to indulge ourselves? We're supposed to live like hedonists? No! You have to avoid the extremes. But you should take from this world, from the necessities and the pleasures in accordance with need. He calls it, everybody calls it moderation. Not extremism. There are two types of people. In America, I see, whenever I think about contemporary society, I think of America. I'm not here alone, I'm not that familiar with Israeli society. But in America, it's indulgence. Right? This is the era of indulgence. I don't think it's only America. Am I wrong? I mean, in the Western world. In the Western world, it's narcissism, the individual, and indulgence, and getting your, that is the extreme of hedonism. I would say hedonism. The biggest battle the Jews are fighting is against hedonism. Of course, you have anti-Semitism. I know that. I know it's serious, by the way. It's serious. But if the Jews are strong from within, and the only way Jews can be strong from within is Torah. That's it. If you don't have Torah, then you don't have Israel. A lot of the Americans are so assimilated. The American Jews are so assimilated. Israel's not even that important to them. All right, fine. Nice. Israel's nice, but it's not that important for them. It's not important enough that they're going to vote for a candidate that they don't like, but who's really good for Israel. You tell them, look what he did for Israel. Well, Israel is,
associated.
They don't care that much. Israel's not the most important thing on their list. The ones, you see, as you go to the more religious, the more you get for Israel. Of course, Israel is very important to us. We'll vote for a candidate. We may not like him on anything else, but if he's for Israel, I'm going to vote for him. Because Israel is very important to me. That has to do with religion. The future of the Jewish people is Torah, is religion. That's the battle. The enemy of that, if you look at it that way, is assimilation. Assimilation, you can have, why do you have to be Jewish? You don't have to be Jewish. Join our society. We welcome you into every... See, in many respects, anti-Semitism was even a blessing for the Jews. Sounds crazy. It was a blessing because it kept them Jewish. You can't join us. Go to the ghetto, etc. Okay, I'm Jewish because I have to... The guy is telling me I'm Jewish. Then I have to be Jewish. See, the Jews need the guy. That's why Goyim were created. Goyim play a role. Because the Jew doesn't identify as a Jew. If the guy welcomes him, you can join our country clubs. You can marry our daughters. It's wonderful. Oh my God! So this is the biggest crisis of assimilation into marriage, assimilation, conversion in Jewish history is America, and probably all the other societies where the same is true. Somebody one time said after a visit to Israel, he says if it wasn't for the hatred of the Arabs, the Jews would kill themselves. It's only the hatred of the Arabs that keeps the Jews on some level of unity. So Kedushas Yisrael, the sanctity of the Jewish people, is expressed through Kedushin. Marriage is called Kedushin. And the sanctity of marriage is very, very serious. You have the phenomenon of an Ashes Ish, a married woman. Oh my goodness, a married woman is sacrosanct. Any type of she can't have any kind of a relationship with a strange man. And if you have a case of adultery would be with a married woman. See, because a man, it's not adultery. In America, in the world, if a man is married and he has a relationship with another woman, I mean, it's wrong. It's also, I'm not saying that, but it's not on the level of adultery. Because according to the Torah law, he may have another wife. You see? So a man, when he marries a woman, he himself does not become under that ban, that he can't have any other relationships. Okay, it doesn't mean he can have affairs. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it doesn't constitute adultery. For the woman, however, she's Mekudeshes. Okay? She has the Kedusha, and she's Mukadeshish, she can't have, if she has a relationship, by relationship I mean a sexual relationship. Okay, of course she can't have the close friendship and all, but the halacha, in terms of the penalty, it's subject to the death penalty. Did you know that? It's subject to the death penalty, okay, of both. If the woman and the paramour, the lover, whoever it is, both of them who committed this act are chayav misa.
But they have to be caught in the act.
Okay. That's another thing. When I say chayav misa, it doesn't mean you're not going to attend too many cases like that where they're getting executed, okay? Then you're not, because it's very rare to ever have the death penalty. So on the one hand, the Torah is very serious. It's the death penalty and so on and so forth, right? If you read the Torah, oh my goodness. But if you learn the Torah Sheba'al Peh, then you realize that it's going to be very, very rare. The Torah made it extremely difficult. This would be
70 years, they only had...
yeah, and that's called... And then Rabbi Akiva, I think, said that if I was on the Sanhedrin, there would never be... In other words, loopholes upon loopholes. It's a defense attorney's dream, that the whole system. It's very, very hard to have a death penalty in actuality. But why is it there then? So who's it going to deter? It's there to teach you ideas. The Torah doesn't want to coerce you and force you. The Torah wants you to recognize how serious it is. It's so serious that the penalty is a death penalty. That makes it very, very serious. Okay, whether or not you'll actually get it in court, that's not the point. The point is you should recognize that if Hashem said it deserves this punishment, then I shouldn't do it. You see, that's how the Torah wants to perfect us, to improve us. Now, what's the case over here? All right, so bear with me. I'm going to have to go through some of the, technical aspects of it. I don't think it's that complicated. I hope I'll make it easy for you to follow. A husband has powers over his wife in the marriage, okay? Ideally, he shouldn't be doing it just to exercise his authority and so forth. He should be doing it for the sake of the well-being of the marriage. But if he has suspicions, that's kineas ishto, he suspects his wife. She's the suspected woman. If the husband suspects his wife that she might be getting too cozy with a certain, you see, because you have to nip it in the bud. A lot of times people observe, they don't like it, but they look the other way. Sometimes that's very bad. You can't always look the other way. Because while you're looking the other way, they're continuing, that's going to get worse. A lot of subjects are all they're likely to get worse and worse. So there's a concept of early intervention. Early intervention in moral issues too. People don't want to do that. Oh, nothing's happened, so she just spoke to the guy. So what? You're going to get crazy over... That's what they're going to tell you, you're crazy. They're going to make it look like you're the one that's nuts. Maybe you are, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're onto... Sometimes people that are nuts are a little bit more onto things, The fact that you're nuts doesn't mean you never get it right. Just because he's crazy. Yeah, he may be crazy, but he's got a sense of what's going on. You see? Don't disparage crazy people, okay? That's what Pirkei Avos says. Al tihibaz l'chol adam. Don't dismiss any person. You never know. Each person has his moment. So you never know. Now the thing is like this. If he warns her in front of two Eidim. See, in Judaism you generally need two Eidim. Al tistari b'ish ploni. I don't want you to be secluded. Seclusion is very big.
That's the word.
Yeah, seclusion is usher. You're not allowed to be secluded with any woman. That's prohibited to you. Okay, you should know that. You can talk to a woman. You can meet in the lobby of the Prima Kings, and then a business meeting. You could have a coffee with a woman, either a married woman. I mean, not for bad purposes. Let's say it's necessary. You're doing business today. A lot of married women do business, and she's the representative, and you talk. That's fine, but it's got to be done not in the hotel room, in the lobby. Okay, so in a public place, there's no prohibition of yichud.
Yeah, but some people think that if you're in a private room and you leave the door open, that's also all right.
Because then it's considered public.
But
well, it depends. Hold it a second. It depends. Because, say they're over here, okay? You can see it over here, okay? So there's a door. This is yichud. This could be yichud, but it's not. In the daytime, people go by. So you're here with a woman. You're not going to do anything because people can see right in.
right.
So that's protection. You say, that's not considered yichud. That's considered public. All right, and the same would be true anywhere where a person, if he leaves the door, he wouldn't leave the door open if he wanted privacy. So if you're in a hotel room, okay, for whatever reason, there's a woman there, okay, that you can't be with, so you'll leave the door wide open, and people are going by. So it's not, you're not going to do anything with the door wide open. You see? So okay, that's halachic. We're getting into the halachic. But he warns her, al tisteri, do not seclude yourself with this person. His purpose is because he wants to forestall. He's afraid that they're developing, that there's an affection going on. He wants to nip it in the bud. Okay. Now, a while later, you have two Edom come forward again. Now, after that's called kinui, the warning. Two Edom come by, and they testify that this woman was secluded in the room with the guy, the very same guy that you warned against. Okay? What else? What took place there? We don't know. Because let's say it was the hotel room. Let's say these guys are aware that she's married and that the husband had warned. They don't have to be the witnesses to the warning, but they're aware. They happen to be coming out of the hotel. Okay, and as they go by, they see him and her going into a room, and the door closes. And that's it. That's all they saw. Then they left. They didn't stay because, or it has to be a certain, like, say, 9 minutes, because that's the Mann. That's the time that. In other words, if you're secluded in a room with a woman for a minute, that doesn't count. That's nothing. It's got to be an amount of time where you could, do what you want to do. Okay. So they testify that they were in there. I don't know. We left after 10 minutes, and they didn't come out. What did they do inside the room? Okay. Did they just have conversation? Did they just have coffee? Did they play cards? What took place? We don't know. We're on the outside. So what's the story? What happened? Could you convict her for adultery on the basis of that? Could you convict her for adultery on the basis of what I just told you? No. No. You don't. What's that?
Being secluded.
Being secluded is not a punishable. That's not punishable by the Bezdin. That's by Dinei Shamayim, but that's not punishable by the Bezdin. You can't give a person the death penalty for sure, because of seclusion. Okay, so this is where the sota comes in. This woman now has the status of being a suspicious woman, because like this, if it wasn't for the kinui, there was no warning, and she had just been secluded with the guy. Fine, nothing. It's not, it's wrong, whatever. They give her a mussar, whatever it is, but her status doesn't change. Her status now changes. She can't be with the husband. She can't be with the husband. We don't know. She's a suspected woman. Maybe she's an adulteress. You know what the penalty for adultery is? It's very serious. It's a very serious thing. See, in our society, this sounds strange, because in non-Jewish society, in secular society, it's a joke. What's wrong with adultery? They don't view, oh, he wasn't faithful to her. But the idea that people just follow their natural inkling, oh, she didn't love him, she doesn't love him anymore. So she doesn't love him anymore, so she went with somebody else. It's not viewed as being so terrible. So why didn't you get the divorce first? Yeah, okay, you should have, but you could. But it's not viewed as being so terrible. You see? Because our society is based on the principle of lust. If you deny yourself, then that's crazy. Why'd you deny yourself? You only live once. You see, if you're a married woman and she meets on a vacation day, her marriage is terrible, the marriage is all finished. Everybody knows it, but they're not divorced yet, and she's on a little vacation, and she meets a guy with the love of her life, and she doesn't know what to do. If her friends will tell her, what are you, crazy? How can you pass up an opportunity? Right? That's what they'll tell her. You have to understand morality. Morality is based on certain premises. What do you tell I remember a friend of mine, a rabbi, very big Talmud Chacham. I deal with Talmidei Chacham. My friends are, I try to find friends that are smarter than me. Right? That's what you should do. Okay? And he was saying that this woman had come to him, and she's a married woman, they have children, this and that. And she says, I don't know what to do. I'm not in love with my husband anymore. Okay, I'm not in love. So he said, so what? So what? What is okay? So what? You have family, you have children. So what? In other words, she's coming from the premise that love is everything. If you're not in love, then there's no. He's saying no, there's responsibilities in life. At one time you were in love, but now you're not. So fulfill your life. That's not the. In other words, her whole premise. She was like surprised. She assumed. See, in America, that's the prevailing idea. Love. Oh, so if I can't have that, I might as well not live. I'm serious. So, okay, I would like to be loyal to my husband. I would like to be. I think that's nice. It's great. But it doesn't compare to being in love. How do you compare the two? So she would sacrifice that. See, in Torah, it's just the opposite. You read it on, oh my goodness, you read it on Tisha B'Av. It's coming up about these teenagers, these kids that were taken on a boat to Rome, and they were being taken to. You're familiar with the Gemara, and for what they found? It's for immorality purposes. They jumped over. They committed suicide. They committed suicide. Just the opposite. What life? What kind of life? If I have to do that avera, it's not. You see, it's the exact opposite philosophy of the Goyim. Their philosophy is gratification. You have to fulfill yourself. Our concept is the tahara, the kedusha, the perfection of the individual, the neshama that Hashem gave us, tahori. That's the governing principle. I'll give up every pleasure in the world. You see what I'm saying? It's a whole different orientation. So over here, what happens now? The woman has violated the terms of the kinui. Now, all things being equal, so the husband divorces her. The husband he can't live with her again. Can't live with her. The husband divorces her, and she loses her ksuba. Okay, she doesn't get the ksuba, because she violated the terms. She gets the ksuba. The ksuba guarantees the woman a certain amount. It's like alimony. Guarantees her a certain amount of money if the husband divorces her. But he divorces her because he wants to divorce her. Or he has to divorce her. But here it's her fault. She can't claim a ksuba when she's the one that broke up the marriage by her behavior. Now there's one further thing. So where does the drinking? Where does the drinking of the sota? Where does that come into play? Okay, so there is this phenomenon, and that is that that the Torah has a institution in which the woman is brought before the Kohen in the Beis HaMikdash. And there's a whole elaborate thing over there. The Kohen reads to the woman, the olos, the curses that are written in the Torah about a woman who has committed adultery. And what will happen? What will happen if she drinks the water? The water that she drinks, if she should drink it, is going to be the waters of not cleansing, but of the decision. In other words, a verdict will come down. A verdict will come down from where? From heaven. Hashem, so to speak, will get involved and paskin whether, because we don't know, is she a sot or not? I mean, did she have relations or not? We don't know. So she can't go back to the husband because she's a suspected woman. Okay, we can't give her the death penalty because we don't have evidence. We don't have evidence. Okay, so there's another thing waiting out there that she could drink. Does she have to drink? Can the husband force her to drink the waters? No. If she is guilty, she's going to die a very, very miserable death. The stomach extends, the thighs fall, and by the way, at that same moment, the lover, the paramour, wherever he may be, will experience the same death. Okay, it's not because he's chayav misa too. It's not just the woman. Nobody's picking on the woman. So my question is, he can't force her to drink. He can't force. She could say, divorce me, and I lose my ksuba. Okay, I'll lose the ksuba. Fine, that's it. So he can't force her to drink. Okay, so so what is the drinking there for? What's the purpose of the entire thing?
Because if she's innocent, she wants to prove that she's innocent by drinking it.
Okay. The thing is, you're right. But it's still a funny kind of thing because we don't want her to drink. We really don't want her to drink. In fact, we do many things to discourage her from drinking. For example, for example, they prevail upon her. They say, just admit what you did. Don't worry about it. You're not the first one to do stupid stuff. Wine does a lot. You drank wine, or you're joking around. And then they read from the Torah all the people in the Torah that sinned. Yehuda and Tamar, and so Amnon and his sister Tamar, I think her name was Tamar also, and other cases. No, so it's fine. Don't feel so bad. It's not the end of the world. What? Yeah. In other words, so my question is, what do you need the water for? What's in terms of protecting Kedushas Yisrael? If that's the goal, so she behaved in a crazy kind of way, okay, and she destroyed the marriage. All right, so that'll by forcing the husband to divorce her and prohibiting him from living with her, you're fulfilling Kedushas Yisrael. That's the consequences. Why don't we just stop there? That's my question on the parsha. Why did the Torah create an institution of the waters of cleansing, of clarification, and Hashem gets involved when, in point of fact, we really want it? I'll tell you why we don't want it. It's a big problem. I'll tell you another thing that comes into play. Then he writes down the whole Ola, he gives her the conditions, and she accepts the conditions of what's going to happen. It's written down on parchment. And then you have the water. The water is you take from the earth of the Heichal, the base of Mikdash, and you mix it with water, and then you take the parchment and you put it in there and you erase it. So what are you erasing? The Shem Hashem is being erased. That's a big avera in general. The big avera. Oh my! To be mochek the Shem Hashem. Yet over here, that's the mitzvah. The mitzvah is to be mochek the Shem Hashem. Well, why? Why does that come into play? And that's also we're trying to discourage her from going through the process. So we shouldn't have to be mochek. We shouldn't have to be mochek to Shem Hashem. It's also interesting, by the way. This water, if it's used, will only work. It'll only be bodek, so to speak. It'll only test and give us a result. I guess it's kind of like today you have the DNA test. The DNA test tests and gives you the results. He's the father, he's not the... This is like the a divine test, which will determine she did or she didn't do it. If the husband has been guilty, the husband now, has been guilty of any sexual avera in his life, even if it's just midrabanan, if he's ever been guilty of such an avera, then the waters won't work. That's why... you need in order to have the drinking, you need the woman, like you said, very good point. She's never coerced. So nobody should complain, if, they're oppressing. She's not being oppressed. She doesn't have to drink. In fact, take your get, and that's it, and be free. No problem. No one's going to bother you. She wants to drink the water. But also the husband has to agree. You got to have two parties. He wants it to drink, and she wants to drink. However, the Rambam says, if the husband knows that he has not been such a tzaddik, not only in the marriage, forget about the marriage, from the time he became bar mitzvah, okay? If he ever had a liaison, whatever it was, and even if it's only midrabanan, it's asr midrabanan, not midiyaraisa, the waters will not work. He's got to be someone who's above board. And still he allows, that's a big avera, if he allows her to drink. Because now the waters are not going to be bodek. And you're causing the Shem Hashem to be erased for no reason. If you're causing the Shem Hashem to be erased for the sake of the B'dika, okay, that's you're allowed to do. That's the mitzvah. But if you're causing it to be erased and there's no positive purpose involved, you see, then it's a big avera. Moreover, says the Ram, he's bringing a laws. He's causing suspicions on the very process, because it's possible that the woman will tell her friends that she actually did have an affair, okay? And the waters won't work because the husband. And then people will say the whole thing is phony. You see what I'm saying? So you got to be careful about that. You got to be careful in everything you do. You don't want to be goreim any harm. But I'm back to my question now. Why does the Torah have such an institution in which the key point is the erasure, and therefore erasing the name of God with something which we don't want to do? All right, that's an Isser. Lo sasan came Hashem lokecha. You're not allowed to destroy. That's mamash. It's like when a person erases the Shem Hashem, it's kind of like denying the existence of God. You know, if it's blotting out a name, it's like negating the existence of something. Yes.
Yeah, to come to your question, I have another question on that subject. Why it says in the beginning, Hashem puts a spirit of jealousy into the man.
I wouldn't take it
all the time with that.
It means to say
that means that's connected with the.
I don't know if it means directly that God caused that spirit. The Rambam says that a lot of times the Torah describes things that people do as though God did it, because it all comes from Hashem. It all comes from Hashem. And as God made man in a certain way, God created men, and men tend to be suspicious, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it doesn't mean that here God forced this person to be suspicious, or maybe it means that he became aware. The person became aware of what's going on and concerned about what's going on. So that's from Hashem, that God constructed man in such a way. But I don't think it means in this particular case. Okay, now let me continue. I want to put it all together if I can. You see, it's strange that the woman now wants to drink. It is strange. She wants to. It's strange, okay? Because, you see, until now she acted in a foolish way. Both of them acted in a very immature way. She acted out by being with this person. The husband reacted with this warning. But the warning itself is not necessarily going to fix the marriage. I mean, sometimes you can't just prohibit. What happened was both of them acted in an emotional way instead of dealing with the problems and trying to improve the situation. And that led to a tragedy. The tragedy was that he was Makane, and then she was alone with the guy, and then the witnesses came, and now she's facing the disaster. Sometimes a person doesn't wake up until they're facing the disaster. People live in a state of denial. They live in a state of denial. I mean, that's a terrible thing. Whether it be your own personal health, you keep denying it's no big deal, or whatever it is. You don't take care of it. And then until it's staring you in the face, then you change your ways. Now I'm going to be careful. I'm going to do exercise. You say sometimes people need a shock to jolt them into reality. That's what happened over here. Suddenly she realizes how important it is. She doesn't want to live. She doesn't care about the marriage, which she didn't care about until now. She doesn't care, so she'll walk out. What do I care? Why do I need this all? By the way, the whole process of drinking is very humiliating for the woman. Even if she turns out innocent, it's very humiliating. You know, they undo her hair, and it's publicly shamed. It's a public shaming of the woman. Even if she turns out to be innocent, it's certainly not a pleasant experience. I could see many people. So she could say I'm innocent, but I don't want to go through that. Okay, she could say I'm guilty. She could say, she doesn't have to say, if she refuses to drink, it's not a proof of guilt. It's not a proof of guilt. She could say I'm innocent. I just don't want to go through that. I don't blame you. Why would you want to go through that? It's not a pleasant afternoon. You see? So I am saying that there's a certain greatness of character. Even, and by the way, the Torah says that if she's innocent, what's going to happen if she's innocent? V'nizra zara, she's going to get rewarded. She's going to come out very healthy. She's going to have children. If she had weak children, there'll be strong children. If she couldn't have children until now, she'll have children. Kayama, very, very healthy children. She's going to be rewarded. If she had any illness, disease, it's going to be cured. Why does she deserve a reward? She acted in a crazy kind of way, and now she's getting a reward? You see? That's what I want to explain. What I'm saying is like this, that over here perhaps the Torah is showing the greatness of someone who's a genuine Baal Tshuva. That's more significant than not. Sometimes it's more significant. Sometimes people have the koyach to avoid doing averas. Okay, but if they ever get ensnared in an avera, they can't get out of it. They're ensnared. The ability for an individual to rectify a situation. A situation has fallen apart. And that's it. A lot of people, I can't fix it. The ability to be humble, to face the consequences, and to exert yourself to restore a relationship that's been broken. How many cases do you know in your own life or friends or whatever where they've been estranged from their son, from their daughter, from their parents, from this one for years and years, and they can't, two parties can't get together and eat humble pie. They can't do that. They can't overcome their emotions. You see, they can't break their ego. They can't erase their names. You have to be able to erase your name sometimes for the sake of what? For the sake of shalom. That's what's being taught over here. You see? That's her greatness. That is her greatness. Her greatness is she sinned. She acted very immature. She acted very stupid. But now she wants to change that. And she is willing to endure the humiliation and the pain in order to, of the sota, in order to drink the waters. Because the waters will be a psak din min hashamayim, that if nothing happens, she gets strong, she's innocent. She's doing it to establish shalom. That's what the Chazal say. That how great is shalom, because God allows his name to be erased for the sake of shalom beinish lishto. For the sake of shalom beinish lishto. For shalom bias. You see how significant that is? That God is getting involved. And God has said we have to emulate God. Let me read to you a case from the Yerushalmi. Okay? This is a very fascinating story. On Friday night, Rabbi Meir's shiur for women, he gave a shiur for women on Friday night, ended far later than usual. When one of his listeners finally returned home, she found her husband so irritated that he would not let her in the door until she would go and spit in the speaker's face. Okay, so he got angry. No, I'm not letting you home unless you go to the, in this case it's Rabbi Meir, and spit in his face. What should she do? Her friends encouraged her to visit Rabbi Meir for advice, and they accompanied her. As they approached his home, he sensed the dilemma with Ruach HaKodesh. Acting as if his eye was hurting, he greeted the woman, quote, "Can one of you please spit in my eye to heal it?" So he pretended that he had a certain infection in the eye and he needed someone to spit in his eye. The woman grasped the opportunity and returned home happily. After they left, so the woman did, that's perfect, he solved the problem. But when the woman left, so the Talmidim, the students of Rebbe Meir, they said, "Rebbe, isn't this a disgrace to the Torah? You're letting somebody spit in your eyes. He's Talmud Chacham. No, do that. Where's the covenant Torah?" See? Rebbe Meir replied, "My honor cannot be greater than the honor of Hashem, who allowed his name to be erased in order to make peace between husband and wife." Between husband and wife. So you see? We asked the question before, why is the Torah doing that? Why is it constructing this institution of drinking? And we don't want the name of God to be erased. But there's what, for shalom bayis, this woman has now become a hero, a champion, even though she acted in a way which is completely contrary to the Kedusha of Klal Yisrael. She violated the basic foundations of the marriage, and then he warned her. That wasn't enough for her. She was still crazy. But then she had a moment of sanity. Suddenly the sanity descended. The person, in my opinion, the person who has the ability to recognize his flaws and to change them, that's greater than that's a Baal Tshuva. The place that a Baal Tshuva stands, that's how the Gomer can't stand. He's on a different kind of a plane. You know, it's interesting. Rashi says on the parsha by Taras, the plagues that come. That's not in the natural. It's not leprosy. For Lashon Hara and for other Averos. So when it talks about it can afflict your house, it can afflict the house. That shows that it's not a disease, because a disease doesn't afflict the house. So Rashi says on the pasuk, if it comes in your land and so on and so on, he says really it's a besorah, it's good news. Why? Because the Amorim, the nations, the Canaanite nations that lived in Eretz Yisrael, so
their money
very good. So they were afraid the Jews are coming, so they hid their gold in the walls of the house. So Hashem wanted that money to go to the Jews. So therefore he afflicts the houses. So I'm saying, but why does Hashem have to give the reward to people that sin? People that have to, the tzaddikim don't have to take down their houses. It's the Rishayim that sin, the series of arrows, so they get the gold. Why do they get the gold? You see? So I wanted to say the same idea. You see that there's a reward for people that sin, but are able to recognize their sin and to change, to tshuva, even though it costs them, because this is an embarrassment. They have to call the Kohen, and they take down the house. So the whole community, they know this guy got he doesn't care about that, and maybe he'll go michutz lamachna. He doesn't care about that. He's willing to take the consequences of sin because of his relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and to restore the situation to what it was. You see, so on that note, I think the parsha of Sota, even though you don't have the institution anymore, because everybody's steeped in immorality, so that's not going to work. It's not going to work. The husband is steeped in immorality. It's not going to work. Yeah, but I'm trying to tell you that the idea is irrelevant. You still have to study it. Everything we're studying is so relevant today. The idea that a person should always seek shalom, and the person who's prepared, he's willing to let his name be erased. He's copying the midos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the sake of shalom. That's tremendous tzidkus. That's a tremendously high level. And we really need those ideas. We really need those ideas today. Because one of the big problems, I mean, Klal Yisrael has problems. We know that. But if you take a look at the world around you, the Jewish world, especially the Jewish world in Eretz Israel, there's tremendous machlokas. Tremendous machlokas. Okay? Tisha B'Av is coming in 3 weeks. But that has not abated. And it's not just machlokas, which can be a healthy thing, but it's the disparagement of other people. The lack of respect for the kavod that's due to other people, and the inability of people to get beyond machlokas, to get over an argument. There are going to be arguments, okay? But the parsha of Sota is teaching you that it can be overcome, it can be rectified, it can be clarified if the people are willing to erase their names, to emulate the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and give up their dignity, as Rabbi Meir gave up his dignity, for the sake of shalom. And then Hashem intercedes and will give us the help that we need. Okay, everybody.